Hello, party people. Coming at you this morning with uh, the next puzzle that I want to solve in the series of listeners which won the Ascot Gold Cup over the last 25 years. This is No Turning Back by ARC. It won the Ascot Gold Cup in, I think, 2003. I don't know anything about ARC, and I haven't solved any of ARC's puzzles before, so this is going to be a fresh experience for me in the sense that I'm going into this puzzle without sort of a sense of what this solver is like, um, how much of a fight they're going to put up, and I suppose what their cluing style is. But the fact that it won the Ascot Gold Cup for the most popular listener puzzle in 2003 means it is certainly bound to be a good and fun puzzle. If there's anybody watching along who would like to join in on the solve, then please feel free to jump into the chat. I'm very, very, very happy to accept hints and nudges, and I think these solves may well be more fun when they're done collaboratively. Okay, so like usual, I've copied out the preamble and the clues for the puzzle into a little solving pad here, and the best way to, I think, tackle these things is to get started with the preamble. You need to get started with the preamble because you need to know how what the gimmicks are that apply to the puzzle. Alright, so a number of letters are ignored in the wordplay within their clues. So that's one gimmick. We don't know how many clues. Might make that purple. Put that in bold. These spell out a phrase when read from left to right, top to bottom. So it's the letters themselves which are ignored within the wordplay. So we might need to keep track of what those letters are as we do our solve and where they fit into the grid. Which should be here we go. These spell out a phrase which should be translated before entry into the grid. Not sure what that part of it means. 23 of the remaining clues contain two consecutive letters that must be ignored before solving. Make that red. And the values of these, actually I might make this blue. Blue and red. The values of these superfluous letters using 1 equals A, B equals 2, etc. should be added together to give a new letter value. The letters corresponding to these new values fill the gaps in the following instructions. Having located the material required to make the thematic object in 3D, solvers should construct it using something and something indicated something at appropriate places. Solvers must submit only the something. Right. Well, this could be fun because this might mean that we're looking at a puzzle similar to the puzzle which I just finished solving, which was paper folding by EP, where we actually need to make something. And if that is the case, that's if it's well constructed in that way, I think it's probably a surefire way of winning Puzzle of the Year. The sum of the clue numbers that have both a normal clue and a conventional grid entry pondering on that, confirms the number of squares to be submitted in the solution. The initial letters of these clues spell out a further thematic reference. Numbers in brackets refer to the lengths of the entries. Well, Before I read that part, I was working on the basis that clues are either going to have letters ignored or in the wordplay, or the clues are going to contain two consecutive letters, but we see here that some of clue numbers that have both a normal clue and a conventional grid entry which means that there are in fact normal clues. And as we solve, we're going to need to work out what those are. So maybe we'll make those green. Ooh, I don't like that green. Oh, that green doesn't help either. It's not a good green. Purple might be okay for our normal clues. Normal clue. Ooh. I'm not sure what this part of the instruction means. The phrase should be translated before entry into the grid. Oh, it's a phrase that needs to be translated. Okay, so that's potentially going to affect the entries themselves. Okay, all right. I think I have enough there to get started. Potentially looking for 3 different types of clue. I think I can zoom in on this grid here. And what I might do as well is, I think we're ready to go there. Okay, so let's try working our way through these clues. The other thing to bear in mind as well is numbers in brackets refer to lengths of entries. What that means is that the word that is clued may not necessarily be the same as what the entry length is. Now that's, I suppose, an additional level of difficulty. I'm not quite sure how that might work out because we may need to do some sort of translation before we put some of these clues in. It might be something that only affects clues where we have some of the wordplay being ignored. But I think we'll start how we usually like to start, which is looking for obvious gets, I suppose. So that is words which, clues which might be anagram clues or hidden clues or alternate letter clues, or just simple things that might be a little bit easier to spot on the first run through. We'll do an initial run through of all of the clues, and that's usually a good sort of stopping point for the first part of these videos. But we'll see how we go. We'll see how much progress we make. Releasing drug assisted terribly cruel people. Drug can sometimes clue E, so and terribly is an obvious anagram indicator. So what we might be looking at here is assisted minus E anagrammed. And that could be give us terribly cruel people, and I like that because we do have an S there as well. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Get rid of these 8 letters. Sorry, the E. We do have 7 letters. So what could that be? Something S. S-A-D. Sadists. They're terribly cruel people. I like that. Actually, went on a trip to France recently where one of the places we ended up was this small little town called Lacoste in southern France, and that up to the top of the hill in Lacoste is the Marc de Sade's place, which was this magnificent castle sitting on top of a hill with absolutely gorgeous view out of the valley and the fields below. But it's sort of been redone, turned into an exhibition space, and bought a few paintings from French artists there. It was a lovely picturesque place. And of course, I think it's from him that we have the word sadists. Here we go. Here we go. Sadism. Origin. Comte called Marc de Sade, who died insane, notoriously depicted this form of pleasure in his novels. Right, I mean, that looks like a normal clue to me. So, in addition to saying that's solved, let's colour that in purple, because we're going to need to keep track of the normal clues. They mock and mimic recruits heartlessly. They mock and mimic recruits heartlessly. But I like they mock as an indicator there. Recruits heartlessly could be just RS. I mean, to mimic can be to ape. I wonder if what we're looking for there is just apers. But I mean, that almost seems too similar to ape, given by the wordplay, seems too similar to what the definition could be. But this could well be one of our clues where we are missing a letter of the wordplay. So I'm wondering if there's an extra word, and I'm not sure what apers means to mock. I'm wondering if there's a letter in here which is missing from the wordplay, which could give us something meaning to mock. So I might just leave that there for a bit, and we'll come back and see what if anything, we get from crossing answers, or if we have any brainwaves. I mean, the obvious places for the missing letter, if there is one, would obviously be before the A or after the A. We'll just run through. I mean, japers are people that mock, aren't they? Let's have a look at japers. Yeah, gestures to mock. I think that's our missing letter there. Japers. Tell you what, it's not a bad start if we are able to get this many out. Now, what we know from this as well is that, oh, oops, daisy. I'll make that blue here. I'm happy to put that in the grid. I'm going to need to highlight that J. Actually, there's probably not enough contrast series there. Let's do the highlighting in orange. I'm going to highlight that J because we apparently do need to do something to the phrase which is spelt out. We need to translate the phrase that's spelt out by these ignored letters before we enter them. And just looking at this as well, it doesn't look like we just have a single ignored letter. We may well have multiple ignored letters within some of the clues. Alien cannot initially enter port of Spain. Alien cannot initially enter port of Spain. not too up to date on all of my Spanish ports. But alien could be, I mean, what we could be looking at here is alien could be ET, cannot initially could be C inside a word for port. Of course, that might give part of the wordplay or not. I think it's more likely that we could be looking at cannot initially and enter anagrammed. And alien is an anagram indicator, and that would give us a port of Spain. Let's just put a question mark next to that one for the time being. I'm not sure. Might come back to it, might be able to work out what our Spanish port is later. But that is probably the way the clue works. Man's not married. Smart chap. I don't know what this is going to be. This is going to be Alec. So when we see smart chap in a crossword clue, usually it is Alec, and I think when I copy this word, it's going to pop up automatically. So smart Alec. But the wordplay is given by male without the M. But then we have an unclued C. So this is one of those, we'll highlight in blue, this is one of those clues which is missing a letter, which is, what is it, 13 across. Oh, what's it, Isaac? Get Alec in there. The pen is not working too well. They're pretty good tablets, these remarkable tablets, but sometimes you just don't quite get the accuracy of the pencil's accurate on the screen. Okay, this might have copied out incorrectly. Let me just go down to clue 14 here. Make heathen prince's chief officer. There we go. Officer, turn back. Okay, so we see any transcription errors like that. We can go back and fix it up. All right, make heathen prince's chief officer turn back at base. Can chief officer be CO? No, it's a commanding officer. So principal's chief, make heathen. For those who are just joining, there are a few different types of clues. We have conventional clues, it seems, which have a normal clue and a conventional grid entry. There are 23 clues that contain 2 consecutive letters that we need to ignore before solving. And there are clues which don't generate, where the wordplay doesn't generate all of the letters from the entries. So clues we're colouring in blue, there are clues that don't generate all letters from the entries. Purple clues will be the conventional clues, and red will be ones where we need to ignore some letters in the clue itself. Make heathen prince's chief officer. So prince's chief can give us P. Officer, turn back at base. Base can sometimes be an indicator for E. I'll show you why. The base of a natural system of logarithms. Make heathen. To make heathen, I mean, could that be to paganise? That gives us the P and the E. not sure if that is in fact a word or a concept, but that would work with Prince's chief, give us the base from the E. So then we'll just have to work out how many of the central letters we could get out of here. Let's think about these sorts of clues. If we've got clues where we're missing things from the wordplay or clue needs to change, I mean, sometimes we do need to take a stab at what the answer might be and try and work out if we can match it up with the wordplay. Officer turned back. Officer turned in nag. No. Not sure about that. I mean, is paganise a word? No, to render, paganise does mean to render pagan or heathen. So, I do suspect the answer is paganise. I'm just not sure. And an officer can be. Aga is a Turkish officer, isn't it? Let's have a look here. Yeah, Turkish commander or chief officer. So, I mean, that does give us. So, Prince's chief gives us P. Or I think Prince is given by P as well. So, it could be Prince has chief officer. So, either way, we get the P-A-G-A. Turn back at base. At could just indicate we're putting something next to something. Oh, what's that? Can sin mean? No, I mean sin wouldn't mean to turn. I don't believe. No. In probably could perhaps. It's perhaps we're to turn, reverse a word for turn, I'm thinking. Let's have a look at the definition of in. Into, within. Can't see anything there. In is a turning in of anything upon itself as a noun. So I think in can include turn there. Well, that is quite tricky. But so far, these clues have not been overly difficult. It's a reasonably good sign that of the 5 clues we've looked at, we've been able to get 80% of them, which is, means that this may end up being a reasonably quick solve. Of course, this is a clue where the S is not indicated in paganised, so we'll highlight that as we enter it. What do we have here? 15. I'll just try to re-enter Satis. That's better. And Japers, for some reason, strokes were a little bit too thick there. Okay. Press release about hidden danger. And press release can be given by PR, I think. Yeah, press release. So press release about. So it could be PR reversed. Could also be PR, I think A can be abbreviated to about. Maybe have it there in Chambers. Hidden danger. I'd assume that hidden danger is the definition of what we're looking for there, but it's not at all sure. Or it could be PR about hidden, around a word for hidden, but I can't think of a two-letter word for hidden. But those are three potential ways that that clue could work. I mean, about is one of those deliciously ambiguous indicators that can mean all sorts of things. Scots urged on in the match. And obviously we're looking for a Scots word for on. In the match is almost suggestive of a hidden word, but I don't know what that hidden word would be, because I mean, emat I don't think is a word, and HEMA I don't think is a word, and this could well be one of those clues where part of the word play is not given. I'll just make sure emat is not a word. It's not, and I don't know many of my Scots words off the top of my head. Urge English government. So English can give E, government can be G, to run navy. 5 letters, 2 words. I mean, well, 5 letter 2 word for urge can be to egg on. We do have the EG there. To run navy. Well, to run is to go. Navy, fairly sure that that can be abbreviated to N. Yeah, there we go, navy. That's a nice, easy little clue. Whoops, that's it. And we can colour that in purple because there doesn't seem to be anything tricky about that at all. So I can just go straight into the grid as is, 18 across. Egg on. Beautiful. And 20. Oh, whoops, it does it. Nut in gang. Rejected joint cover. Joint cover can be a kneecap. I'm feeling very in sync with these clues at the moment. Not sure if nutting gang rejected. Oh, I can't see how I could get. I mean, maybe I'll put patella there, but maybe it is in fact kneecap, because nut can be en. Yeah, no, this is interesting. So pack is gang, nut is en. So we go en in pack, then we reverse all of that. We get kneecap, but we do have a missing E. So once again, this is coloured in blue. Another letter which is not given by the word play. Problem is we don't know which E isn't given by the word play, so I'm just going to sort of highlight in the middle there, and hopefully it will become obvious. It might be that when we start going through the down clues, we find that the same cells, letters in the same cells aren't given by the word play, so that would help resolve that ambiguity that we have there. Interestingly, we haven't had any of these red clues yet where we need to, or at least we haven't identified any of these red clues yet where we need to ignore consecutive letters from the entry. All right. Joint cover. I do like joint cover as a definition for kneecap. I think that's quite clever. Poet's funeral. service at this point is interrupted by Australian. Well, at this point could be here. Interrupted by Australian could be A in here. So by putting A inside here, perhaps you get a poetic word for funeral service, or a particular parts word for a funeral service. Maybe looking at something like hearse. I mean, that's a word for a funeral car, but there's also a word for a funeral service. There we go, funeral service. According to Edmund Spencer, a hearse is a funeral service. So again, we have additional word. I'll tell you what, if anybody watched a previous video trying to make my way through the sabre clues, they might be struck by how slowly we're able to, how slow we were in trying to disentangle some of those clues, and how quickly we're able to solve these clues. And I think the reason for that is that these clues are just much more simple. They're lovely clues. I mean, the surface reading of all of them is they're impeccable. And they're very neatly and fairly indicate both the wordplay and the definition. And perhaps the difficulty level of the clues themselves is pitched a little bit lower because the clues do have issues with them, and there is that extra jump which the solver needs to take, which is to get from wordplay that might be missing some elements to the final answer. But I can't remember the last time I did a crossword where on a run through of the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clues, we got 7 of them. So I'm liking the pace of this puzzle so far. It's making me feel very clever. A coded form of armour includes H. I mean, that's form of armour is probably an anagram of armour. Includes H means let's put an H in it. And perhaps we have a word meaning coded. Not sure about that. Not sure about that at all. Fence's move shows indication of error in position. It's going to be like a lunge or something like that. Fence's move shows indication of error in position. Fence's move could be the definition, but position or in position could also be. It could be a double definition clue. Fence's move could be something that also means indication of error in position. I mean, sick, S-I-C, is a word that can indicate that. Often printed within brackets in quoted matter to show that the original has been faithfully reproduced, even though incorrect or apparently so. Not sure about that. Anyway, Jack's in game finally loses temper. Not sure about that either. I think I know what this one is. Vietnamese New Year's festival is Tet. TE is a note. That would give, so TE is a seventh note, sometimes spelled TI. But yeah, Tet is a Vietnamese Lunar New Year festival, so that means that we have, this is one of those clues that is missing. I think it comes up too thick if I hold the pen in a certain way, so I'll just hold the pen a bit more upright. There we go. So wordplay misses out the T on the end, so it's another one of our blue clues. Highlight that T. It's going to spell something apparently. Scraping as in eroding. I mean, as can be so, S-O, be a word like so inside a word meaning eroding, like rotting, or it's probably going to be a word that ends with ing. I don't know if, do we have is it SO for as inside or something? As can also be ut, UT. I'll show you why. As means insofar, so maybe it doesn't give us so, but arsenic, no. Ut is Latin for as, so where we see as in one of these crosswords, it can mean UT as well. Scraping, butting, or rotting, be weathering, could be routing, as in rotting. No, there's too many letters. We can't do that. But routing, I'm not sure if routing means scraping. Anyway, come back to that. Refuses to move. Arch in supports. And I'm saying that refuses to move looks to me like its definition. Arch inside a word means supports. I mean, it looks like we have something that's going to end in an S, because why wouldn't it if that refuses to move is the definition and supports. So supports, if it's a noun, can be bras or tees, props, arch, this could also be one of our clues where perhaps we're missing some letters. So 23 of the remaining clues contain 2 consecutive letters, so if we could be missing either AR there, so containing have 2 consecutive letters here, or CH could be the consecutive letters. So it could be that we are looking for AR or CH in one of these words. That could be what we're looking for. Tears, refuses to move. I don't think. I'm just going to leave that there is what I'm thinking, but can't see any of those as being likely answers. Member in Scotland, so member can be an arm or a leg, so it could be a Scottish word for that, claims spirits. It could be member, simply arm or leg, and then a Scottish word for claims, and the definition is spirits. Not all sure what we're doing there. Cavities in plant remain. Could be a hidden word, but we could be missing some letters or have some extra letters. Just look at, I mean, cavities can, if cavities is a definition, we're either looking for something that ends in A or S, for example. Ossa is a mouth, or oh no, that's ora, O-R-A is the plural of that. And to remain can be to stay, maybe, just not sure. Near the mouth of river. Well, we've got a mouth here, don't we? OS. Mouth of a river. That can be. No, Ness is a headland, I think. Near, NR is an abbreviation of near, so we could be looking at NR something but have some missing letters. Mouth of a river. Not sure about that. Army snack is for purchase as well, reportedly, so that can be two, could be as well. So we could be looking for, reportedly means we could well be looking at a homophone indicator here. So, I mean, by two, by two, I don't think that's. Army snack. Not sure. Moths lose acceleration. I think acceleration can be abbreviated to A. There we go. So moths lose acceleration during glide. So lose acceleration can also be to slow. There we go. Sorry, I'm going to take this. Nedley, how are you, mate? Yeah, pretty good. I'm live solving a crossword on Twitch. Yeah, I'm a nerd. You can watch me solve a crossword on Twitch live right now if you log in. Yeah. No. Oh, I'm vibing this one, I can tell you that. Yeah. Oh, I've got, apparently yeah, I think they might be called Twitches. On my stats here it says I've got 4 viewers so far. Well, I've got 9 followers, but that 9 followers might be the upper limit of what I could potentially reach on Twitch, because I think that might be everyone who's potentially interested in watching somebody solve a crossword live. I mean, you can tune in if you want. You can. Oh, you're good? Right, yeah. Oh, I've tried it, but it's pretty fucking boring. Gotta say. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Where are we? Okay. I do have friends. Sometimes I do like to call. Not often, but... Army snack is for purchase as well, reportedly. No, we're up to moths lose acceleration during glide. Not sure that could be. Gaelic boy is lacking colour. I mean, lacking colour can be pale or wan. I mean, Ewan can be a Gaelic boy, can't he? So perhaps we're dealing with a missing letter there. Oh, I'm not going to... I'll put that in the grid, but I'm only going to put it in red. I think Ewan's a Gaelic boy. So, and we'll see how that fits with some of the crossing entries, but I think it's probably going to be correct. But anyway, now bevel gear brakes losing British advantage. I think advantage can be up, can't it? As in to have the advantage. Be used as a noun, I think. Oh no, maybe not. We're looking for 8 letters here. This is going to be an anagram indicator. So it's going to be an anagram of bevel without the B, because B is short for British. Get rid of the B. I think we get leverage there, which is a word meaning advantage. Leverage. Happy with that. And it looks like that's a clue where everything is accounted for. So there's no extra letters in the word in the clue. There's nothing, no missing letters from the wordplay. So we can mark that as a normal clue and just get that straight into the grid. There we go. Be inept, unfinished, clues oddly messy. This could be an anagram as well of inept, unfinished, so without the T, and just odd letters of clue. Anagrammed, so we take out the missing parts. We have a word meaning be. I mean, to be is to live, to... No, not sure about that, but I'll leave that there because I do like that potential working or explanation for the clue. Seabirds in flight fish for age long before sun appears. And before sun appears is pre-dawn, I suppose, if that's the definition. But I'm not sure how we get... So before sun appears, pre-dawn, that would be the definition. I'm not sure how we get pre-dawn out of that wordplay. Seabirds in flight, fish for age long. Without a potential explanation, I'm not going to enter that into the grid, but we'll keep it there and just put a question mark on it because it could be what we're looking for. I think I was up to a grand total of 4 followers before. Then I took a 5-minute break. I'm sorry about that. Now I'm down to 1 again. That's okay. But if you are solving along and you see you think you have the answer to something, let me know. I'm happy to accept hints and help. Crone from Lapland. I mean, a crone can be a witch or it's a derogatory term for an old woman. Crone from Lapland bleats about extremity of temperature. Crone from Lapland. We could be dealing. This could be some extra letters that we need to ignore. So it might be that the definition is one from Lapland, because otherwise I'm not quite sure how I account for that Lapland. So Lapland's a Laplander. I think Santa's also from Lapland. Extremity of temperature is E, potentially T. Bleats is, I think, bars. Is a bleat the sound of a sheep or any animal sound? Sorry. Yeah, to cry like a sheep. Not sure. We do have some letters here, so it is. Wait a second. I mean, that's the funny thing. I was talking before about how about can be different things, but I'm looking at the enumeration that we do have, which is S something, A something, E. Extremity of temperature, that can give us an E, but we can also maybe get bars around, or it could be bars and B-A-H-S, but let's see if that, Saab isn't, but is Shabe somebody from Lapland? No. What is Sadie? I was getting excited there, but wasn't to be. But I do like the idea of, we might then suggest that what we're looking for is a word meaning bleat, which is reversed, or bleats, which is reversed, and that accounts for the S. And what we're looking for is a person from Lapland. Mars. Oh, hey, Darren. Mars. So Mar is to bleat, as a goat would. Same as a lap. Beautiful. And that gives us, I think, our first clue where we have some extra letters here. So I'm just going to mark in those extra letters that way, in red. Well, I think we saw one up here where we thought it could be extra letters, which is, where are we? Potentially an arch and 31 across, but we can confirm it there for 1 down. In court, declare, so that can be to allege or aver, perhaps. To allege and plead in court, which is where, funnily enough, I'm familiar with. In court, declare European legal reforms in advance. I'm looking for 6 letters. Of course. I mean, we do actually have a bit here. Hi, Liari. We do actually have some crossing letters here, so it's clearly going to be a ledge. But how do we get to that? So in court, declare is obviously going to be the definition. European legal reforms in advance. We're just looking at European gives a legal. An anagram of that is. Oh no, it's E. An anagram of legal in front of E. That gives us a ledge. That accounts for every part of that wordplay. So that's a clue where we don't have anything additional going on. Every letter of the wordplay of the entry is accounted for by the wordplay. We have a crossing answer here. See that the clue is Parliament. What fits is diet, so I'm just going to put that straight in. It's obviously got to be the answer. To stop working is to die. So I'm assuming then that we have an extra T. So we can highlight that. Lucifer hung large number. A la carte. There we go. So that's thanks, Shark. That's 11 across. Alicante. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but certainly fits. The clue solving and the grid fill has been mercifully gentle in this puzzle so far. Alicante. It's a port in Spain, and it's an EN. So we have an extra EN in the clue, right? Oh, so it's simply an anagram of Ali cannot. Nice. So we'll make that a red clue. Oh no, it's an EN here. Wait a second. No, it won't be. Where's the extra EN? So, yeah, it must be here. Is it EN or ER that's extra? I see. Ali can't. Oh, I see. Right, that makes sense. Ali can't and initially enter gives us a. Okay, that's a neat little clue. Which brings us back down to 4 down. We have SA something something N. I mean, once again, that's got to be Satan if the clue is Lucifer. Although I do need to confirm that because it could be that could be a word where you're changing something, internal letter or one of the letters. Lucifer hung large number. Number could give the N on the end of Satan. Hung can be sat. Perhaps. So that will give us sat at the N. But how would large give us an A? Large number can just be N, can it? Yeah, implicitly a large number. Okay, so that means that we have an extra A here. So it's one of those clues where part of the wordplay doesn't give all the letters. Container lies below surface of swimming pool. It's 5 down. I mean, it's got to be stack, right? Surely it's stack. Continue. I mean, that would give. That gives. What's stack of container? And surface of swimming pool would be S. Stank. So a container can be a tank. Tank below S. Could stank be a pool? It's a Scots word for pool. There we go. So that's stank. Funnily enough, just like we had in the last two crosswords in this series from 2002 and 2021, we have a Scots word being indicated there where there's no indication given that we're actually looking for a Scottish word. It's simply clued by the word pool. Although, looking at that definition, it does say it's chiefly Scot, which I suppose doesn't rule out the fact that stank could be a non-Scots word as well, and it does raise a question mark over whether or not it needs that indicator. I think I sort of went on a bit of a... went off on a tangent when I was solving Saber's puzzle about that. So I won't repeat myself. Palm apparently holds data. Something A, something A. There is a palm which is... Oh no, maybe I'm thinking about easy. There's an easy palm, but... Is that a... Or is it adder or something? No. Well, Ito, that's a palm. Yeah, the Meridi palm. I think there might be a palm as well. Hold data. It apparently can be APP. Can't it? Or is it just AP? No, it's neither, it seems. Yeah, no, here you go. AP is apparently. So we could have something. We already have the A, so it could be apparently holds data. This could be one of our ones with an extra 2 letters. So either TA or DA being extra. So which one's a palm? Is it a DAP or a tap? And a tap's a palm. So that means that the DA is additional. Beautiful. So it's simply AP around TA once we remove the letters. What a P, something N, something E, something T. Now, when we did kneecap at 20 across, we weren't sure... Well, one of the E's in kneecap wasn't given by the clue, which was EN inside pack reversed. But this down clue might be capable of resolving that ambiguity, because what I suspect is going to happen is if the E in the 5th position here of this clue is indicated by the word play, then I suspect that means that it's the first E in kneecap which was missing from the word play of 20 across. Irish joke at first is more feeble. And if more feeble was the definition, then we'll be looking at something that ends in ER. Just not sure what that could be. Irish joke at first. Jake first wants to give us a J, right? And Irish can be shortened to IR. No, here we go. Look at this. The answer is going to be punnier. Or punier is more feeble. So it's pun in front of IR for Irish. But then we have a missing E. Which tends to, so that's going to be one of our blue clues. So punier is more feeble. But what that does is it confirms that the unclued E in both kneecap and punier line up. Network of lines made by skier confused by drink in Cerebral. Where is Cerebral? Or Maribel? Not sure. Maybe it's a Scottish place or something like that. Network of lines, I mean that can be RY for railway, I suppose, or it can also be network of lines. I mean lines can be LL, it can be railway, it can be but network of lines also may be a definition here. Skier confused by drinking cerebral. But we're only, the entry is only going to be 6 letters long, so it may well be that we are looking at removing 2 letters, potentially from skier. Skier confused could be an anagram, but perhaps we're only anagramming 3 letters of skier. So we remove 2, and then we're looking for a 3-letter word for a drink in Maribel. Maribel's a French place, is it? So, U, okay, EAU, thanks Shark. So I suspect we're looking for an anagram of just only 3 letters of skier next to EAU, and that will give us a network of lines. Let's sort of work out, consecutively take out 2 letters of these. So I could be looking at something like this. Probably not that. It's got to have a vowel in it, surely. I mean, reso looks like it could be something. Yeah, fine mesh ground for lacework. So that would mean that we're taking out the KI here. And that, of course, and what I didn't look at, of course, was the input or the data that we did have from the across entries, which might have made that a little bit more straightforward. I like it. Very fair clue. Scraper puts water on upturned cooking dishes. And that could be, on upturned is NO, and an anagram of dishes, potentially. But what do we have as data from the crossing entries? Something E, something P, something, something, something. Looking for a scraper. If we're looking, maybe we're looking for puts water on upturned, so sprays or waters or wets. So The wets backwards would be stew. Cooking dishes. And I want it to be stew pots. I like stew pots, but where do we get scraper? So where do we get the stop up turned? Because that gives us... So cooking dishes is stew pots. Puts water on is wets. We got that. But how do we get scraper to be stop upturned? We need to remove... I don't think a scraper's a stop, is it? Fiddler... Stew pans, because I mean either one of those words, stop or snap. I don't think you can't really stew something in a pan. No, but a stew pan is a cooking dish. Same as a stew pot, so it's going to be either stew pots or stew pans. So Shark says scrap can be equals snap. Yeah, I like that. So we're looking at not stew pots but stew pans. And yet another clue where we have the additional letters in the wordplay that need to be ignored. Yeah, scrap is a small fragment. But scrap can also be to stop, to cease to use. So, I mean, is scrap more likely to give snap or stop? Let's have a look at... Yeah, no, snap is actually defined as a scrap. So, yeah, stew pans it is, not stew pots. And neat little clue. 12 down, do we have any input from that? We do. I something, C something, E something. Wife's asking when we should go for a walk. 45 minutes. Right. A board game in which one must take out 7 letters. I mean, the surface reading of that is obviously suggesting Scrabble. I think Scrabble is actually 8 letters. A board game in which one must take out 7 letters. Not too sure. Not too sure. And a board game could be a clue there. And perhaps it's a bit misleading. Shark makes a good point. It's funny that the S wasn't missing from Brosseau like it was missing in Paganise. It is strange. Let's go back and have a look at that quickly. So I had this as turn. In is to turn. To turn back. So Prince gives P, Chief Officer gives AGA, and then turn is in. And I think we got that from, where are we? I think it was from the definition of turn. I can find it. It was in its noun or sense, wasn't it? I had it before. Yeah, no, in is defined as a turning in of anything upon itself. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe the S is somehow clued by this. But to turn back, at could also be reversing at for in. Yeah, so Shark says at equals in, turn back equals NI, so it does look like the S is extra. I agree. It is funny that convention wouldn't be followed. I mean, I wonder if, it may be that, can we get the S from somewhere else in this paganised clue though? I'm sure all will be revealed. But perhaps we should be a little bit sceptical of that S. Not sure what our board game is, so let's just press on down to 16, and we do have OR in the centre of this. Old tumult, seen when conquerors turn up. It's got to be RORE, which is an obsolete spelling of raw. So at least we did have here an indication it was obsolete. We don't have an indication that, as well as being obsolete, it's also Shakespearean, but I think that's probably fine. There is the apostrophe S in that paganised clue, I think after princes, but I agree that the clue doesn't otherwise seem to indicate a containment. That 16 down does not seem to have any gimmicks going on, so that's a normal clue, so we'll highlight that in purple. $19 down, intermediate schools first to complain about FC. And I like intermediate school being the definition there, or perhaps over an intermediate. What do we have? It's 19 down. I don't think all we have of this is something E, something, something, something. Let me just check that that clue is transcribed correctly as well. We're looking at 19 down. No, it is transcribed correctly. That's good. Nobody on right has meetings at lunchtime. Nobody on right is in lunchtimes, N potentially. It does start with N. So nobody on, oh no, nobody on the left would be that. So nobody can be none. On right can be R. Is non or a word? I mean, non-es is, that's a day, not, non is not a word. On right has meetings at lunchtime. sure about that. Scots have pruned shrub abused as stypic. It's to do with blood. I mean, obviously a anagram clue of some sort, I would have thought. 22 down. Starts with H. I mean, there are words that start with H which could be defined as to do with blood. It's going to be something like hemitic, maybe? It's 8 letters. I mean, I suspect, and let's have a look at what we've actually got here. Hay is Scots word for have, nice. Or it could be, but we have, but is that hay is in HAE prune, so we just get down to the HA, because we then have this business here, prune shrub abused as stypic. I was thinking that we were looking at a word which, so I was looking at abuse as an anagram indicator, and this is just such good anagram fodder. Gagging to be used. Not sure I understand. Instead of abused. Oh, I see. Used as styptic. So, yes, so let's proceed on the basis that the AB is additional. Pruned shrub used as styptic. Are we not looking at an anagram at all? Well, obviously we're not if it's that. So, astringent. So, hemostatic. So, checking bleeding. So, what's a shrub that might be used that way? So I'm looking at hay or ha pruned, and then perhaps just a 5 or a 6 letter word for a shrub that's used as a styptic. A styptic is something that can check bleeding, can stop bleeding. Hemostatic, it probably means stop blood, cause it to stand still. Hematic. So Matico is our shrub. Peruvian pepper shrub used as a styptic. So you take the last letter off that, and then you have hematic, and of course that would be a word which means to do with blood. Thanks for that, Darren. Do we still use Matico to stem bleeding these days? Not sure. Hematic. So, this is one of our clues. And of course, it's always nice to get something in down the western side of the grid, because it gives the starting entries for so many of those across entries that start on that side. Norse god. It's got to be Thor, surely. Keeps in touch with. Actually, do we have anything here? 23. It starts with A. Isn't AS a Norse god? Fairly sure AS is a Norse god. Yeah, AS is a Norse god. So perhaps we're not looking at Thor, we're looking at AS. So AS keeps in touch with Old Norse. The Old Norse can be included as ON, with feeling. With feeling. With feeling is obviously going to be the definition. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking for a musical term here, like a Latin word that's commonly used in sheet music to indicate that something is to be done with feeling. And if that's the case, then we could be looking for AS keeps as in around, AS around, something meaning in touch. Wonder if that's what we're looking for. Wouldn't be surprised. And of course, we don't know what sort of clue it is either. Anyway, come back to that. We will get some crossing entries out easily enough, which will help us fill that in. There is no alternative to my not shadowing such an object. When my can, no alternative, alternative can be or, my can be core. So I wonder if there is no alternative to my is just a really, really devious way of cluing the core minus or equals C. Not shadowing such an object. What do we have here? 27. It starts with T. There's no alternative to my not shadowing such an object. An object could simply be that, T-H-A-T. Oh, what's that? Wouldn't it be funny if that's what we're looking for? Not sure about that. An incompetent judge. I don't think there's any such thing as an incompetent judge. They're all learned and thoroughly competent. Is first to supply more drink. Don't have any answers there, but first to supply, yes, more drink. Not sure. Yeah, it wouldn't possibly be a word that could mean incompetent judge because it simply doesn't exist. Judge can be J or try. IS, first to supplier, JISS maybe. More drink could be one or a nip. Anyway, not sure. 30 down, fly east concerning American. E-R-E-A-M or US. We mean fly. Not sure about that. Sorting out tear in time. That could simply be an anagram of tearing. Probably not. The definition could be sorting out. We do have something here. We have potentially A likely A, G, something, 6 letters. I mean, tear in time. I mean, time could be age, sorting out, sorting. Tear or drop. I do like that as something age, but nothing jumps out. Servants see about thorny bushes. Triage. Of course, the triage is sorting out. Tear in time. Is this simply with an extra EA? Yeah. Unless, I think it would be. So, unless, yeah. So another one of those clues where we have an extra letter. Sorry, an extra 2 letters. I do like how gentle a lot of these clues are. It's makes for a very enjoyable solve. Just goes to show, for a puzzle to be brilliant, the clues don't need to be so abstruse that they're an effort to resolve. You can have a brilliant puzzle where the clues give away ever so easily. Servants see about thorny bushes. I like. We have that enumeration. I mean, C can simply be C, so I wonder if it's C in a word for servants. And all of that is reversed. And we get something meaning thorny bushes. And if it's thorny bushes and it's flora related, then could be something in A. Maybe servants, we're looking at something that starts with A, but AIDS or something like that, but maybe not. Maybe not. Anyway, come back to that. More skillful, storyteller drops okay. More skillful, what do we have? Well, presumably we're looking for something that ends in ER. I mean, storyteller, I'm thinking about somebody who could be a liar, it could be but something has an OK in it where we can delete the OK. Just not sure what that could be. I mean, the definition's obviously going to be more skillful. To be skillful is to be arty or able. Abler could give that answer, but how could that be given by dropping something that means okay? A fabler is a storyteller. Fabler is a storyteller. But how could dropping okay give instruction to remove an F? And back to that. I mean, it is looking like the answer is going to be abler. And I'm confident enough of that I am going to put the R in for the end of 35, because what else could it possibly be if the definition is in fact more skillful? Oh, drops off. Oh, okay. I think when I copy out these, I mean that explains it. It is Fabler without the F. When I copy from the PDF into the WordPad, I think it has an issue with recognising FFs. I think the double Fs kern together and just simply not recognising them properly when it makes the copy. Something to bear in mind when we see something odd. It is OF removed. So F being dropped from Fabler gives abler. That's of course the answer. Thank you for that, Shark. Measures French bra in a second. So measures French bra in a second. I should probably check that this clue is probably transposed as well. Was it 3610? Measures French bra in a second. I mean, a second can be a mo, M-O, can also be S-E-C for sec. A second could also be A-S. Measures lines, perhaps. Not sure about that. Income support for nurses. Nurses can be enrolled nurses or registered nurses. Spec we might be looking at, I mean, if this is an Australian puzzle, income support would be Centrelink or the Dole. There's a UK puzzle. There's a gyro, isn't there? G-Y-R-O. Yeah. Oh no, that's just, yeah, social security payments, a gyro check. Do we have anything down? No, we don't have any crossing answers. Not sure about that. They initially stop progress involving shared responsibility. So we have something possibly WA. They initially stop progress involving shared responsibility. Stop progress could be SP initially, involving shared responsibility WA. Oh, not sure about that. I'm not sure where we get the WA from, but could have shared responsibility. That's not going to give us swap, I don't think. Anyway, let's go back up to. Actually, I mean, we've got most of the things at the top. 15 across. TRA. This is an answer that is missing two letters. The only letters given is PR about or PR backwards. And we know from the down letters that the A and the T are words which letters that aren't included in the down answers, and the trap is hidden danger, which makes me want to come back to 14 across, because we have the S in 9 down is not missing from the wordplay, but on our current passing of paganise in 14 across, the S is missing. Unless sin can mean back or turn, and we've got it reversed. Yeah, I'm sceptical of this one, but anyway. 17 across. Scott's urged on in the match. We have something PI, something. Scott's urged on in the match. $24 down's interesting. Sorry, 24 across is interesting. 7-letter word ending UA, and that tends to confirm that we are looking for an anagram of armour around an H. I wonder if what we're actually looking for is a word for cod, and we have two extra words encoded. Get rid of the AU and the R. Let's pretend the H is here. Rawmua, or maybe it's... I don't know if that's a word, but... What's more, right? More is a gazelle. The H is here. I mean, that doesn't look like a word either. It's going to end up being something quite obvious, but I'm sure of it. But anyway, not sure exactly how we get that out, but we do have in our crossing letters something that tends to confirm that we're doing it right. A more hua is a code, according to Shark, is a cod. More hua. An old generic now specific name for the cod. Okay. Go with that. Oh, of course, Isaac. Thanks for that. I did try all the other possibilities. I think I hadn't thought about putting that H there though, but more hua. And that would make it a red clue. We're actually looking for 23 of those, and I think they're probably underrepresented in ourselves so far, so probably got quite a few of those that we do need to spot. Fences move, so 3 letters gives P. I feel like if there was a list of things which I should learn from Chambers, it should be fencing moves, birds, fish, and like land masses and parts of rivers. I think if I had all of those things memorised, probably give a real advantage in cold solving a lot of these advanced puzzles. Fences move shows indication of error in position. Jack's in game finally loses temper. 26 across. We don't have anything for that. 28 across. It starts with E. What was I looking at? We're looking at UT as or it could be as or it could be so. I wonder if this is another one of those red clues where we are simply deleting 2 letters from a road in. Put in something inside it to give erasing. Yeah, we're deleting the OD. The answer is erasing. Staring us in the eye, in the face. That means scrapping. It's simply as inside. I mean, the entirety of the wordplay is actually spelt out by the clue, which is, I think, the best indication yet that because of the gimmicks that are used, the clues are deliberately clued in a way that makes them easy to solve. Refuses to move. Arch in supports. And I was wondering if this is another one of those red clues, or where we lose 2 letters from the wordplay. If that's the case, I don't think we're looking for bras, tees or props as our supports. I mean, struts could be. Supports, right? Or stats. No. Stats. Refuses to move. It might be that refuses to move is not the definition, that the definition is in fact supports. So we have another tip from Shark. Letters could be H's, in the AITCHES. One must take out 7 letters. Not quite following, I think. Chess minus 7 equals S. 7 does equal S. Oh, I see. Gotcha. This is clever. So, if this is it, H's is definition. So, H is obviously. Where are we? A, can that be an 8? Small, we'll come back to that. So a board game in which one must take out 7. So 7 is a medieval Roman numeral, can be given by S. Let me just try and find that here. Yes, a medieval Roman numeral. 7 can be S. So chess minus S would give us the CHS at the end. It could be that we have A, chess without the S, and we have both the I and the T being extra. We do have a similar thing going on in 15 across, where we have 2 letters that are extra. I like that. I think that it's a little bit tricky, but it would work. It could also be that the T is extra, and in which one means put one inside, but I'm not sure about that. What that would potentially mean, if the T and the I and the T are extra, then perhaps it's the I in paganise which is extra, and not the S in paganise. I'm not going to mark that in red yet until we finally satisfied of the passing, but if the I in paganise is extra, I mean, could SN mean something? According to nature, tin, Senegal. Not sure. What does that give us for 17 across? I always want it to be spit. Pit means to put. I don't think that means to urge on. Spit. Doesn't either. But I do like H's as an answer for 17 down, but a board game in which one must take out 7 letters. I mean, that maybe we are looking at simply an extra IT, but we'll come back to it. But we do potentially have an issue with how we are passing 14 across. But time will tell. Time will tell. Refuses to move. We're up to 31 across. That would give us the STS. Which is what Shark was saying before. Refuses to move. I mean, supports could be posts, right? Sure. Member in Scotland claims spirits, 33 down. Member in Scotland could also be member of the Scottish Parliament, perhaps. Claims spirits. Starts with them. None the wiser. 35. Cavities starts with A. The fourth letter is R. Cavities in plant remain. This is just a simple hidden clue. Antra is a cave. But does that give cavities? Might mean it give a cave, but what would the plural of that be? Antra? Oh no, antra. So antrum, antra, A-N-T-R-A's means cavities. So we weren't looking at antre, but that means that we have an extra A here. So hidden clue, but missing the extra A. Cavities 35 across. A-N-T-R-A. Extra A there. Nice little get. Eccles aims in Scotland, so it looks like metals for 33 across. Oh, right. So that would mean a CL. I've come across that before. It's a not something that I remembered, obviously. Member, I think, can be given by M, can't it? Let us check. Member in Scotland. Here you go, member. It's a member of Eccles. So spirits is metals, which is metal is one spirit. It's a very good get. Thanks for that, Shark. Where are we? Which means that that's another one of those red clues. We've done Antra, 37 we're up to, near the mouth of river. NR, of course, gives near, but we don't have any crossing letters, so let's go straight to 39. We do have a crossing letter here, which is a B in the second position. Army snack is for purchase as well, reportedly. I mean, I want it to be a homophone clue. We haven't come across a homophone clue in this puzzle yet. Army snack is for purchase accordingly. Not sure. 41. Moths lose acceleration during glide. We may well be looking at 8-letter words starting with moths, potentially. A Latin word for a family or genus of moths. We've only got one. We've got one crossing answer for Ewan here. I think that's enough to confirm that Ewan is likely to be our Gaelic boy. So let's properly put him in. The E, of course, is not given by the wordplay. 44 across. So, I'm wondering here if we're looking for a word that means B. And we're just looking at an anagram that's given by the first, or all but the last letters of the word inept, plus CU for clues oddly. And we do have an indication from the crossing entry that it starts with C, so perhaps we are on the right track here. Cupine is the only thing I can think of, but I don't know if that's a word. Cupid is a word. Yeah, not sure. Seabirds in flight. I was thinking pre-dawn for this, but that does not fit with Abler, so... Oh my goodness, right, okay. B inept. So clue's unfinished. Clue is the one that's unfinished. And then we have odd letters of messy. Oh dear. I tell you what, I feel like an idiot for not getting that, but it is such a nice, neat little clue. I do like that. The answer, of course, is clumsy, which is defined by being inept. Thanks for spotting that shark. Clumsy. Beautiful. 45 days. Seabirds in flight fish for age long before sun appears. Could be a word meaning appears, you know. I mean, S is sun. Long can be to itch or yearn. There's just too many words in there, though. Anyway, if I was up to date with my lists of fishes and birds, or fish and birds, then that would be a bit easier. Let's have a look at some of these down clues in the southern hemisphere of the grid, the antipodes of the grid. 29 down, RE something 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 L. An incompetent judge is first to supply more drink. Not sure about that. Fly east, ST 1, 2, 3, M. Fly east concerning American. But I do like that concerning American to be re AM, which would mean that EA here is extra. So stream is to fly, at least one sense of the word. So we have another clue where we're removing 2 letters. Ref is probably a judge, so refill for not across. Judge is a ref. Supply more drink. I suppose a ref ill. Judge is first. I see. So an incompetent is incompetent is ill. Okay. Does that mean though that I think "and" might be an extra word here because incompetent is ill only in the adjectival sense. So I think we're looking at that there. Yeah, so an extra. I mean, it's a little bit sneaky putting the "and" at the front as a whole extra word, but it's not. It's not unfair because it's contemplated by the preamble. Dog's barking. Banjo! Someone at the front door. Banjo! Come here. Somebody outside. Anyway. Problem for somebody else. 23 down. We have a bit more here. Norse god keeps in touch with Old Norse. If I'm right here about this being AS around the word for that, then we're looking for potentially A something ATONS. Not sure, I can't see it. Boy, come here. Come here. What are you barking? I want you outside. Is that what you want? That's what you want. Now, alright, let's open it and go. Here you go. Hey, where do you go through? You go down low? There you go. Yeah, poor thing just wanted to go visit his mate next door. Alright. Not too sure about this. 27 down, we also have an N in the third place here, so let's have a look there. There is no alternative to my not shadowing such an object. There's no alternative to my not shadowing. Not sure what that could be. Where have we got our moths? So, shark gives us Tenade, lose acceleration, tine A inside ide. So that would mean that the GL is extra. Time mean to lose. It is a Scots word for to lose. Again, another Scottish word not indicated. The only thing it is clearly something which is a more recent convention amongst setters of these puzzles. If a word is from a particular particular type of word, like an archaic word or a Scottish word or a dialectal word, or say a Shakespearean word or a Spencerian word or something, it's indicated, and that's the case whether it's part of the definition we're looking for or part of the wordplay. The dictionary hasn't changed, we've looked at that. We went back to Zimini's on the art of the crossword, and I couldn't find a reference to that being a requirement in that book from the 60s. I was having a look at the listener setter's guidance on the listener website. I couldn't really see it in there, but where I did find that requirement is in the clue-in guide for the magpie. So I'm wondering if this is something which is influenced by that. Also, the modern conventions influenced by that. Alright, so that gives us a little bit more for 23 down. Tends to confirm the position of the Old Norse. So I wonder if we're looking at something like this, which is with feeling. I think we're probably looking for an Italian phrase or a musical phrase, I think. So we've got our Norse chord, AS, around a word meaning in touch. Touch could be pat. I mean, I want it to be this. Appétence. Let's see if that pops up. It doesn't. It's not that. But I do suspect it's going to be something like that. And if that was the case, if Old Norse is at the end, then 37 across would start with O. Ossa is a mouth, but no. Near the mouth of a river. Maybe we just have R something something. Maybe that could be O. And aura is, I think, a word. No. Ossa. Ossa is a mouth. I don't think it's a mouth of a river. 38 down. We have I something S. Could the AL be extra? Let's go back up to the. Oh, let's have a look. Where was it? Here we go. Could the AL. What do you mean by the AL? Do you mean the. Near the mouth, oral. Oh, I see. The AL just simply is include. I think that's probably right. That's as good as answer as any. We have had a few where we've had two letters that are not clued. It would fit with the Old Norse, and of for giving O and R giving R, so the answer is oral. Look, I mean, it would be a clue that is consistent with some of the other things that we've seen, so I think it's probably right. Let's highlight this. How you doing, Alexa?
Hello.
What are you doing today? Fair enough. Next we have AI something S, income support for nurses. I mean, nurses is probably going to be AIS, wouldn't it? AIAS, which is Indian nursemaid, I think. Yeah. AIA. So income support. Of course, IS. That's not included. I think we definitely have. So it seems that where something's not included in a down entry or in a cross entry, it's not included in the corresponding down entry, which means that we do have. We may well have an issue with how we're passing the wordplay for paganised, but we'll come back to that. So we've got the two A's not included there. The other list of words that would be helpful to add to general knowledge would be, I suppose, English or Indian words that have been imported into English because of the colonial legacy there. They certainly pop up quite a bit. The RE77 says, I'm back, how's it going? It's going well, as you can probably tell by the looks of this. We are making excellent progress on the grid. I'm very pleased to report that. This grid fill is much easier than I think some of the last few puzzles that we've solved here. So 34 down, S something, AE something. Shark, as I understand it, the RE is based in America and sets some crosswords for various publications as well. So I think this weekend I might try and have a crack at some of the RE's puzzles. 34 down, S something, AE something. Servants say about thorny bushes. Not sure what that is. And I have ordered the third edition of Unch Magazine 2 on your recommendation, Liari. So I'm looking forward to that arriving. $19 down. About is out. Oh, okay, let's see if we can get there. So Shark is suggesting that we have an extra two letters here, AB. Servants see out. So it could be C out of servants. Thorny bushes. Spades? Could that be thorny bushes? Not sure how spaces could be servants, but no. I'm taking C out of something. Presumably it would be there, and I've got the S on the end because servants. Scottish again, is it? Just going through my list of letters. SB, Scases. Look, if it was Scottish, I probably can't get it out. Wouldn't be able to get it out, but I'm presuming we're losing a C from this part of a word meaning servants. Stasis. Stays. No. Staves. Oh, right. Okay. So V can be C. It's in vide in Latin. So I'm not looking for a C out, we're looking for a V out. Spaves? Spave? No. Which one find a slave? Servants, slaves. Slay is a form of slow, which is, I think it's a blackberry, isn't it? A blackthorn. There we go. The only reason I know that is because I think that's a puzzle which, that's a word that I used, one of the few puzzles that I've written which I think it was in the EV series. There we go. Slays. Thorny bushes. Should have known that. Alrighty. 45 across. E. Seabirds in flight. I mean, seabirds can be urns, I think. In flight. For age long before sun appears. Not sure. $36 down. Measures French bra in a second. Arms? Arms not a measure, I don't think. No. French bra in a second. I mean, I'm thinking here that the wordplay is something inside A and S. So, French bra perhaps inside. Or it could well be French B, French A, or French word for measures. We have bra in a second. French A does work, doesn't it? So and orns is a measure, measure of fabric. Also happens to be a French measure of fabric. So an additional BR there. $36 down. But this is problematic because we had antra as an extra unclued letter in the wordplay for 35 across. We don't have... Ah, yes, Sharks picked up on that. Let me just check that the clue is properly transcribed. Yes. It is not extra in this. That's okay. Maybe we simply do have extra letters that don't match up. Maybe it doesn't match up between the various crossing clues. That gives us an S on the end of 45 across. Which could just be the before sun part of the clue, the S. Just looking at the rest of the puzzle. Do need to take the dog for a walk at some stage, but let's see if I can score an extra 15 minutes. 21 down. Nobody on right has meetings at lunchtime. I mean, nobody can also mean no one. So that could be our clue here, our definition. But then I'm not sure how we get on right has meetings at lunchtime. And on right might indicate. Yeah, I'm just not sure. I like lunchtime being noon perhaps, because noon is... Isn't this funny? Noon, the ninth hour of the day in Roman and ecclesiastical reckoning, 3 p.m. Afterwards, midday, in the middle. I like it, it has to be a joke that the first definition of noon is given as 3 p.m. rather than midday. But maybe lunchtime isn't really a good indicator for noon. Yeah, really none the wiser with that, how that clue could potentially be passed. Well, it's lunchtime 1. Of course lunch. Of course it is. Well, it depends on how soon you need to get back and how long you need to want to eat for. So lunchtime could be 1. On right has meetings at lunchtime. What would the on right... I mean, if we are looking at... Yeah, on to the right... That would give us a no, but what would the has meetings at lunchtime? How would that part of the clue work? I mean, we could be looking at a clue which has an extra 2 letters. On right has meetings at lunchtime. Let's make sure the clue is correctly transcribed. Nobody on right has meetings at lunchtime. And I'm not sure right would indicate reversal. I mean, from the right. If you're heading right, you're actually heading in a particular direction where you're going. But From the right would. That's correct. We don't have from the right there. Has meetings, could that mean on? In contact with the other. I don't think has meetings could be. I don't think it's given by on, is it? Be an adjective if it was, I think. I do like the idea of it being no one and the definition being nobody, but I'm not sure how we get there yet. That would... So assume that's the case, so 31 may start with N then. So what would that look like if it started with N? Refuses to move arches in supports. Arch in supports. AR could simply be R as in R, the letter R. So could be looking for R in something meaning supports. Refuses to move arch in. Is nursed a word? R in nests, perhaps? No, wishful thinking. Has to be a vowel here. Because 27 down would cross at that point. I can't see that being a consonant. Nest isn't a word. It's not saying that. So nice to get just one more out before we go. 19 down, ends in NE. Intermediate schools first to complain about FC. I think I did check this, even though we have an F there, it is intermediate schools first to complain about FC. Okay. Intermediate school. First to complain could be C. About could be that we're reversing something. It is messy, of course it is. So, intermediate. Schools first is S. To complain about is mean. Once again, a Scottish word for complain. And just like we had with another clue, the additional letters are just two letters at the end, which, I mean, no doubt it's difficult to work out how to include FC inside something. I'm just having a look here, I think there are very few words. No, there is a whole list of words that does have FC, but there's probably very few words without a space in the middle that has FC. It is a weird clue, but it's obviously the answer. Right, that might give us an inroad on 26 across. Thanks for that tip, Shark. 26 across. Second letter is S. Jax in game finally loses temper. It could well be SR if it finally loses temper. SR. It's a bit Yoda's, but in game we put S and R. It gives us jacks, but not sure about that. I think we have seen jacks before somewhere. We haven't, it's just this. There is no alternative equals Tina, but that's an abbreviation. Didn't know that. There is no alternative. Look, it's given us an abbreviation, but I don't think that would rule it out as a possibility for 27 down. Two, my not shadowing such an object. Core, Tina, what if we took core for my, no. Not sure how it would be clued either, but let's put it in red. See if that gives us any prompts for some of these other answers. That would mean that something BA something is army snack for purchase as well, reportedly. Sure. 31 across might suggest that we're looking at an I here. Yes. It refuses to remove, resists. Well, it could be refuses. Refuses I like as being resists, but supports could be rests. So rests to move arch in. I mean, is rests a word? Rests is a word to become rancid. Or to dry with smoke. Suddenly, once again, a Scots word, which means to suddenly refuse to move. So we could well be looking at rests here. So the Scots indicator is not given, but how do we have arch in supports? How does that give an I inside supports? If I can be given as no. I'm not sure how that clue would work. Surely can't. I was thinking if you take out the RC, that surely can't clue I. Well, R is an interjection of surprise. Is I an interjection of surprise? Very sneaky if it is. It's an electrical current, of course. Adverb being the same as I. Here you go. Oh, this is tricky. This is really tricky. No, we can only remove two. So I is clued by R. So R equals aha. R is an exclamation of surprise, which is I also expressing. Oh no, that's expressing affirmation. Maybe it's not that. Let's go back to R. So R means surprise, joy, complaint or objection. So it's not that. That's actually the exact opposite of... I got excited there, but I mean, it is a bit... I don't think it's that. That's the only thing I can think of. What I will do though is I will pencil it in red because it's likely to be the answer. Refuses to move. It's a very specific definition and it is defined in Chambers as that. Exactly. Rest definitely means refuses to move. Rests has to be supports. And we're just looking for I inside supports somehow given by arch in supports. I mean, is I an arch? I mean, it's certainly a type of beam. Yeah, girder shaped section, but I don't think... No, that's an I-beam, or cursor. And it's the same as I, which is yes. Expressing affirmation. But not the same interjection as oh, here we go. That's CH equals I. In southwestern English dialect, it's also obsolete. I think we have probably come across that sort of thing before. So this is a clue where, I mean, that's something which isn't completely unheard of or unseen in these advanced cryptics. I'm positive I've come across CH as an indication of I before, but only more in more recent times where those indicators are actually given. But once again, this is a third crossword in a row from this area, 2001, 2002, 2003 now, where we don't have those indicators. So this is a clue which is a Scots word. It uses an obsolete dialectal abbreviation from southwest England, also not indicated to give I. Tell you what, some of these clue writers back in the day were really loose. I mean, it's not necessarily unfair to, if you have come across it before, but I think it would be considered unfair these days, or unfair in a broader sense, because at least in the sense that you would only be expected to know it if you have come across it before, and a lot of people who try and solve these things simply haven't come across these things before. I'm just going to turn the sound off because some blending's about to go on in the background, so I might not talk for the next couple of minutes. So blending done, I'm back. Alright, so for 21 down, that gives NO something R. So we're not correct on no one. Nobody could be none around right. Nobody could be no. We have an R there inside something. Meetings at lunchtime. R can also be RT. As in the Right Honourable. Really none the wiser. Has could also be, yes, that's right. Let's go back down to, so it'd be R. Perhaps the answer is meetings at lunch, so the definition is meetings at lunchtime. Nobody on. Could we be looking for some extra words somehow? Extra letters. So it could be body on right, potentially. I don't see how. Non can't give us. Nobody can it. The only word I can think of that sort of goes there is noirs, but I don't think that means meetings at lunchtime. I think that triple lunch in 26 across. There is a triple lunch in 26 across. It's also the central word. I think Ximenes definitely has something to say about that in his chapter on diagram composition, which is chapter 4, page 32. Where is he on Unchin? Maybe I wasn't. I'm not going to bother looking that up. I didn't look at the types of clue chapter in here before to see if it said anything about types of definitions there. Whole chapter on analytic clues. Anyway. Assay can mean temper, but no idea why. So that would be for 26 across, no doubt. Jack's in game loses temper. Finally loses. Jacks can be salts or sailors. Could also be RN for Royal Navy, but finally loses temper. Yeah, I'm not sure about that either. 21 down might be helpful with that, but if that was the case, then you'd potentially be looking at NOARS, but once again, not a lunchtime meeting. Not a lunchtime meeting. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 clues that are unsolved, which is a pretty good effort. I've solved reasonably quickly. Let's go back to the preamble and see whether or not this will give us a few sort of leads. I'm being told I need to go walk the dog. I think in the next video what we'll do is we'll pick it up at the preamble and try these few letters. So the first is our blue letters, our extra letters, which apparently set out a phrase which has to be translated before entry into the grid. Now, I'm just looking at the highlighted word letters that we have here in the grid so far. And obviously it doesn't spell anything yet, but maybe we need to somehow translate it from a different language, or maybe the translation needs to be anagrammed before we put these highlighted letters into the grid. We also have 23 of the remaining clues containing consecutive letters. So there's two things we can try with this. First is we can work out how many of these types of clues we've already identified against how many clues are unsolved, and that might give us an indication of how many of those unsolved clues are used in this gimmick. The other thing we can do with this is look at the values of the superfluous letters and try and fill in these instructions with it. So there are 23 of them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So looking for 5 more. And we know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 clues that we haven't properly solved or passed. So this means that half of those are going to be clues which use that gimmick. But we can probably try and work out where those are, because if we can start to try and work out, get the new letter pairs by adding together those things to start filling in those gaps. No doubt it'll give 3 words here. Right, sorry, 4 words here in order. So the values of these superfluous letters should be added together to give a new letter value. The letters corresponding with these new letter values fill the gaps in the following instructions. Let's give that a go. So E-N, N-O-P-Q-R-S, that gives us an S. That's our extra word, letter. E-D gives us an I. O-D-O-P-Q-R-S, that gives us an S. A-R-Q-R-S, S again. C-N-L-L-M-N-O. G-L, C-D-E-F-G, that's 7-L-M-N-O-P-Q-R-S. C-R-Q-R-S-T-U, find something that's not an S. D-A, that gives us an E. K-I, A-B-C-D-E-F-G-H-I-J-K. L-M-N-O-P-Q-R-S-T, I think that's a T. E-R-Q-R-S-T-U-V-W, I think. Could be wrong about some of these, but F-Q-R-A-B-C-D-E-F-G-H-I. A-B will give us a C. A-N would give us an O. A-E gives us an F. A-E gives us another F. AB gives us a C. OF gives us an OPQRSTU. VRQRST gives us a T. Right, so that's what we have so far. So let's make a list of all these. These are our red extra letters. We have S, ISSO, SUETW, SUETW, ICOFF, CUT. So, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yes, 18. So we need to work out. So offcut's going to be here. So offcut's going to be one of them. Then we have three other ones. I wonder if this is going to be scissors. There could be scissors there. Using scissors and construct it using scissors and scissors and glue perhaps. Scissors and glue indicated that would have to be twice. I think if we wanted to, because we only have 5 letters we can put in. It is going to be another scissors one, it looks like. So I think that's what we're looking at here. Just trying to reverse engineer this preamble. And what that means is these have all read in order, so we're able to indicate, to work out now where these extra things are. So that answers our Paganese one as well. So where are Paganese? Turn back in R at base B. So we were completely wrong about this clue. It is not one of these clues like this. It is a clue which is missing, so it has additional words in the word play. It is not missing a word from the word play. Of course, what that means for us is that goes in there. H's, I think there was a way that we could pass H's where only the T was missing. So of course the BA gives us C here. So it means we've identified the C of scissors. Now the beautiful thing about these puzzles is there's always another way to sort of come at the answer. I think cryptic clues in general, I mean, the whole idea of a cryptic clue is you've got 2 different ways of getting the entry, but with these more advanced puzzles, if you hit a roadblock, you can always go back to try and work backwards from the end game. Of course, we had enough of the extra letters here given by the red clues to ensure what the answer is. It looks like we've been proven right. So between the O and the S, we need 2 letters to add together to be an R. What that also means as well is that this is not a red clue. Just put that in parentheses there. Let's underline that. This must be a red clue which gives an R. So if we're looking at scissors, just give me a moment. BA, army snack is for purchase as well, reportedly. So what 2 letters could give an R? None of them have sort of looped around, so it's not going to be something from army. It's not Maybe something from... Not sure what it could be in there. 2 letters in a row where the letter values need to add up to R. So R is, of course, the 18th letter of the alphabet. CH, no. I'm E and L. L. And then O, P, Q. Just coming down to... Oh, right, so we're not looking for the R there. Oh, that's a very good spot. That's a little bit dastardly. Looking for an EM here, and of course that then gives us answer as a hidden clue. And so that could have been passed either way. So just looking at 39 across, and of course that accounts for our R. So 35 across. Of course that clarifies that we did have that question mark as well, because A wasn't missing in Orns. So excellent spot, Shark. So it's then, so between the S and the U we have a GL. It's going to be in one of these then, if we are in fact looking for glue. So it means this one has to give an L. It'll mean that one of these would give a G, if we're right about it being glue, scissors and glue. But, I mean, this clue looks complete. Bevel gear breaks losing British. It gives you leverage, which is an anagram of bevel gear without the B. Clumsy, B, inept, unfinished, clues, oddly messy. That's simple enough. Gaelic boy is lacking in colour. I mean, not sure how we get a G out of that. Not sure at all how we get a G out of that. If we are looking for glue, I mean, inept, BE. It's not a normal clue, but this is tricky. The BE gives us the G. So B inept, of course, doesn't clue clumsy, but inept clues clumsy. So that gives us a G. Whew. Beautiful. Shark says we'll have to head to bed as board round first thing. Great, so I'm being pressured to go walk the dog, so I'm going to take off now as well, and I might put this down and come back to it this evening my time. And I think I might come back and, you know, I might do a Sunday solve tomorrow, but I think as a first run through, this is really, really good, and I think where we'll pick it up is we'll try and work out the L and the position of the L and the E, and then we'll come back and try and solve some of those unsolved clues. So let me just put a marker there. That's where we're up to, and that's the end of part 1.